A very good morning, a very good afternoon, a very good evening, wherever you're watching us from. Welcome to Jalango TV. This is your number one online TV, and on our desk today is Mom Sarah, of whom I'm going to let her introduce herself. My good name is Edith Nelima or Eddie Max, and behind the camera is Director Daya. Welcome, Mom Sarah.
Thank you very much.
You look beautiful.
Thank you.
Wow, you look 16, 18. What is the secret?
Laughing.
Wow,
I like to laugh a lot.
I like that.
Even in times of pain, I like to laugh a lot.
Mm.
So, introducing myself.
Yeah.
My name is Sarah Mainge Hillman, and I am from Kenya, born and bred in Kenya. Lived in Kenya most of my life. Moved to the UK at some point. So I'm sort of like now in Kenya and the UK, because most of my charity work is here.
In Kenya.
So I'm here quite a lot.
Wow, that's so amazing. You know, the other day we just saw some clip on social media trending. I was like, is this Mama Sarah? I don't know if it's you.
I had a feeling you'd touch on that. Yeah, it was supposed to be a very peaceful International Women's Day walk that didn't really start, and it's because some people just thought, they would come along and use force on us, with pangas and stones and rungus and just name it. And we're still in a daze. We don't know why they did it, and we don't really know who did it. Have an idea-ish, but not too sure, why they had to use so much force. And what for anyway? Is there no freedom of, movement and freedom of doing things? It was International Women's Day, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, sure.
Should have just let us do our thing peacefully. After all, we had their permission, from the OCS, and there were little children, and old ladies, and then middle-aged. So it was a little bit, still remains a mystery.
Sure. I'm so sorry for that.
Yeah.
And that one aside, let us talk about your childhood, growing up. How was life?
Growing up, I was brought up in a really, nice family. I must say, been very blessed. I had amazing parents. And I can remember, because I grew up, here in Athi River. And I can remember from a very young age, I really enjoyed just having time with the workers around and the neighborhood. So my parents knew that every time it gets to Christmas time or New Year or Easter, I was always doing something. And because we had no neighbors, because the ranch was huge, so the neighbors were quite away from us.
Wow.
So at 11, I used to drive.
11 years?
11, I used to
You
drive.
must be very
Yes,
lucky.
yes, I used to drive. And I would just go around, picking up the children from the neighborhood and bring them back. And at that point, I've made sure my mom has organized food for them, with pilau, with kachumbari, if it was during the Christmas time or the New Year time, and chapatis, and then if it was during the Easter time, compared to what we have right now in the UK, completely different. Abroad, we all know it's all about chocolates. Chocolates, sweets, chocolates, and chocolates. But here, my upbringing, I can remember Easter time, we used to boil lots of eggs and then color them, put food coloring. So we had green, red, pink, yellow. And it was really nice just to hide all those, different eggs in different places. And then when the kids come, they know they're going to have the Easter hunt. So the egg hunt was real eggs, not chocolates like what we have on the other side. Yeah, so it was really nice for them just to be running around to find the different eggs. Then at the end of all this, we all come with the eggs. People who found maybe some two, some none, some have found more than others, but we were always willing to share. So we had lots of, put some salt on the side, and then we peeled our eggs, and then we ate them, and it was just the whole, thought about doing that was just exciting, and the look on the little ones' faces was just priceless.
Wow.
So that's sort of the upbringing I had. And that's something I did 11, 12, 13, and that just went on. Every year I had to have at least like 2-3 events without fail. So, and the other times I spent my time eating at the workers' houses. Oh my goodness, I still cannot forget how delicious the ugali was, made from the river water. That taste is still in my mouth, It's amazing. So I used to really enjoy just doing things with the workers. My mom knew she'd hardly get me at home to have any meals. It's because she knew I enjoyed that life with, the workers.
Okay.
That was just my life. Just doing what they were doing was what I really enjoyed. Cleaning the little, babies' noses, because they were sometimes full of mucus.
That's hard for people.
Yeah, especially the children. Clean their noses and carry them on my back. I just loved it. So I had a really, nice upbringing, considering my parents were very down to earth. That really helped a lot.
Wow.
Yeah, and then, as we continued growing up, of course, school and the rest of it, because we were schooling in Nairobi. Went to Muthaiga Primary School, and it was another exciting time, going to school. We stayed in Nairobi most of the times. But then holiday, of course, we're back at the farm. So that was my life. Then skip that bit after finishing the primary time. And then I went off to secondary school, which was boarding. I went to Limuru Girls, better known as Chalks. And that was also a very exciting time. But I can remember one thing about the high school, which I'll never forget. When you come into as the first formers, so now you're basically the lowest, right? Because the highest is the sixth form. And you can imagine we were known as rebels. So rebels are to be seen, not to be heard. So that was it. And of course, I can remember us young ones having crushes on the older ones. It was really interesting, how that all happened. But then there was this special night that they had. And that was a ghost night. And that was the first introduction you get. Or when you go to Limuru Girls, they have, there's usually a ghost night. We have those creepy, and it was something about the Limuru Girls buildings. They were sort of like high, very high ceiling, and cold, and could feel very creepy. And then we had this lady who was the matron. Her name was Mrs. Ngodo, and she was so creepy. You should just suddenly, you're walking in the dormitory, somewhere along the corridors, and you just find her standing there like a statue. And it's like, hello, Mrs. Ngodo. And it was scary, just her, the way she looked. Anyway, we were warned about the ghost night. So the ghost night day came along. And I remember we put all, my dorm was called Chulu Dorm. And it was it was one of the, a gym, like a gymnastic room, a huge place. But we had our bunk beds all sort of arranged all over. But then on the ghost night, we put all the bunk beds together so that they couldn't get to us, because we actually knew there were real ghosts.
What?
So bad the way these people did to us. Anyway, so it was scary, it was horrible. We were looking forward to this ghost night, and we didn't know what to expect. But all we knew, we were going to see ghosts. Now, you can imagine growing up from a Christian background. We don't know about ghosts. We don't even know that they exist. When you come into this school, you've been told they are ghosts. And then they brainwash you to believe it's real, it's true. So, for us as first formers, we're still trying to find our feet in the school. Then the ghost night comes along. And that evening, You don't know what time it's going to start. But you've finished dinner, you've now gone to bed, and you're just waiting. Suddenly, you see the lights going off, on, off, on, off, like it was like how, you know, the ghost stories.
That was terrible.
It was horrible. I was so young. But the light started going flicking, you know, off, on, off, on, off, on. And you're thinking, what next? Then suddenly, start hearing, and we're all like freezing. We don't know what to do. We're trying to cuddle next to each other, and it was horrible. And the next thing is, these so-called ghosts come and they're beating you with pillows, you know, and so like it's soft pillows, hard things which are hard inside. So they're beating you, and it was just chaotic. We're screaming, shouting. It was chaotic. I don't even know how the school even allowed that to happen. And I wonder whether it still continues. But anyway, that was all that chaos. Then eventually it comes to a stop. And then, you know, of course, we're putting on the lights. Others are, you know, are crying. It was horrible. So that's the one thing I really remember about being in Limuru Girls. Something I'll never forget. But after that, it's like almost you've been introduced into the school, and now have a good time in Limuru Girls. So that was that. So skipping on, you know, smoothly. Then I finished my O levels. Went to Charles Calder and did my A levels. Then I chose to just do other things in between because I was working for my parents at that time. So that was that. Stayed, worked for my parents. Did a lot of work here and there because, you know,
In the farm.
Farm partly. And then I used to wake up in the morning when I was 14 years old, and I would be able to, with a tractor, I would plow 5 acres of land. Done. Take the tractor back, sorted. Yeah, I was really a farm girl. So when I was looking after other properties and whatnot in Nairobi, that was another sort of thing which I did. Then I chose not to continue with my education from there because there was family business to look after and the rest of it. So sort of like it stopped there. Anyway, not that I missed anything. But it came a time, of course, I then found myself having some, you know, boyfriend and the usual. And the next thing is I was getting married. So I got married, and
So you got married at what age?
Can I remember? 27.
Oh, 27.
That's when I got my firstborn.
Oh, okay.
But actually, I didn't even get married. I got my firstborn first, and then I got married.
So you got married to your baby dad?
Yes,
Okay.
but it was like I had the baby, and it was more like very funny when I think about it now, because it was almost like, you know, because I was Kamba, he's Kikuyu, and we were, you know, there was that thing of where you're marrying a Kamba to sort of like coming in, and I was like, you know what, sod it, I'm having my baby. I couldn't be bothered about marriage. My life is going to continue anyway. But at some point they decided, okay, fine, they're going to do the traditional wedding with, you know, for us. So we did this Ngurario. And if I'm really honest, if I remember, the first visit they came with all those, you know, Kinanjenga Karume, who the works.
So it was
a wow factor.
yeah.
Wow factor. But when they first came, would you believe it? I was in a plaster. I was in a plaster. I had been thrown from the stairs up to down in the name of love. This thing of where women get beaten up, women get, and you're just accepting all this, you know. So I sort of like, I had a taste of that. And I don't know why I did not figure it out. That was a red flag. But anyway, I still continued with it. And to cut a long story short, that marriage never worked because it was just full of violence. And
so you got
horrible.
how many kids from that marriage?
It's embarrassing to say how many kids, although they're all a blessing,
Yeah.
but it's embarrassing. So I got the firstborn. That was sort of before I had my Ngurario. But then after that, then I got the twins.
Oh, twins.
Those
You
are
got
3 children.
twins. Wow.
Then after that, I got another one. It's like I hadn't had enough. And mind you, during all this time, I'm being beaten.
Wow.
Yes. And I'm still in there.
You are being beaten. You are from a rich family. You know,
It's horrible.
how does that? Huh? You must be a very humble girl.
I wouldn't say I'm humble. I'm humble in many ways. But I never imagined that I would sit there and watch a man hit me. And I just take it in. My own father said, I know my girl, she's a tough girl. Nobody can play with her. I sat there and I was beaten. And I took it in. I don't know how.
Love.
I'm not even
wins.
sure. I think because sometimes you always think, I want to make it work. You see, you want to make it work. And you're always trying and trying and trying. And in the process of the trying, you're making yourself more, vulnerable. You're making yourself more, acceptable to whatever you're experiencing. And I think that's what happens to most women. You just find yourself in a relationship and then you want to make it work. So it's almost like you're hoping for the best. He's going to change. He's going to change. But why lie? Any of you are in this sort of relationship, walk out as soon as. It's not going to change.
And when
That's
all
the
this
truth.
was happening, did you bother to tell your parents?
So I'm telling you, it's very funny because as much as I've seen all this happening, my mom, I told her a bit, but I dared tell my father because he would come for me. He would have come, taken me. He refused to have any bride price. He said, I don't want anything from you
So
guys.
he didn't take anything?
No. He said, I don't take bride price. You take my daughter. If you've had enough of her, bring her back. She comes from a home, not from the bush. Bring her back home.
What?
Just tell us we don't need her anymore. I even went as far as saying, should I bear any boys for you? Since I know most families believe you have to have boys and be born before you can sort of like really be accepted as a wife. He said, she can't give you boys. Hey, bring her back home. So I didn't bother tell my father. I didn't dare tell my father. I just persevered.
So for how many years?
Whoosh, those are many. Well, enough, put it that way. Maybe about 5 years, maybe.
5.
4,
So
5
in
years.
5 years'
5
time,
years. In 5.
you had gotten 4 kids.
Yes, because there's the first ones. The first one was the time I walked out. The first one was 3.5. The second one was about almost 2, and the little one was 4 months. So it was a very close.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were like little mice.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No regrets.
But no regrets.
No regrets.
As you say.
I'm not sitting back and thinking, shouldn't have done that, shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
Nah. You just accept and you move on.
So you came back to your parents?
Yes, at some point, I tried to whatever. Unfortunately, my last, before I walked out, my last bad beating was sort of like just after I buried my mother. I lost my mother, buried her, and about a week's time in between there is when I was getting that horrible beating that made me completely now walk out.
That man.
So I didn't have my mother. I only had my father. And let's not even talk much. It's just women, we play a very, very important role in a family.
Yeah, sure.
I'm telling you that for free. And when you are there as a mother, I can remember my mother, being in the house. It made such a difference. I could talk to her. I could tell her things. I could send her to my father, something I needed. I could talk to my mother about it. But I could not just go to my father straight.
Yeah.
And now I'm left with my father. I cannot go to him straight. What do? She's sort of like, keep away, kidogo. That's what I did. So it wasn't good, and I just tried to make ends meet. But that whole story is a story for another day. It's a long one. But I had my share. It wasn't good. Persevered. It was rough. Name it. Until the next chapter, when I actually just decided to move out of the country.
Maybe before we move on to that, your journey to the UK and all that, let us talk about Mama Sarah Feed Me a little bit. We want to know how all this began and when did it start?
Well, as I said, from when I was very young, I used to always have children come home. So that was already feeding. I wasn't mom at that point. I was little myself. But that was the feeding. That was my way of just, that was Mama Sarah feeding, but I wasn't Mama at that point. I was just Sarah feeding. So I used to love doing that, and I did it. And even after, I went abroad, I started a children's home in Kitui. Yes,
okay,
in Kitui. And I remember it wasn't my plan to start the children's home, but then it was a situation where there was a woman who had 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls. And remember, I had 2 boys and 2 girls. So in her situation, she was pretty unwell, and she was actually dying of AIDS. And I remember being given the story and finding out more about her. And I said, without even thinking about it, I didn't even tell my husband. Because when I went abroad, the first after I met my husband, I'm now married to, but I didn't even talk about it to my husband. I just said straight. I just told people in Kenya, I'm going to look after those children. So I remember having a word with the mother and just telling her not to worry. We're going to look after her. We're going to look after the children, and I am going to take responsibility, full responsibility of the 4 children. So she does not need to worry. At this point, she was pretty unwell. She was literally on her deathbed. And there's nothing much. That time, 2003, it wasn't really popular about the medication and this and that. So it's just a matter of you get, you're with HIV, it turns into AIDS, and what do? You almost just wait for your day to come. And then that's the end of the story. But for me, saying those words to her actually gave her a very peaceful death. Because I remember her words before she died were, I can afford to die peacefully now that I know my children.
Wow.
Every time I talk about that, it takes me back. It takes me back. And that was it. I took the children and started looking after them. And then from there, we opened up a children's home, Mama Upendo Children's Home. Mama Upendo was, mother's love. And so we just ran the orphanage for quite some time until the COVID time, when things went a little bit, because everybody was in need of money. Said money doesn't go to the children. Then we just agreed with the social workers that they can put the children in the closest families. Then I could still see how I could still continue supporting them. And that's how I sort of closed the Mama Upendo Children's Home. Then from there, I've just been, in fact, during that time, I was doing a lot in Kibera. You call it Kibra? I was doing a lot in Kibra. I've got a church that we started, we sort of funded to, build classrooms at the church. And then from there, we used to have a feeding program every, it was Saturday or Sunday. And I did a lot that with my daughter. So we would just, if I'm not there, she'd make sure she's there. And we just started off feeding from, I think we started off with about 100. Before we'd gone off to around 500. I mean, there was big numbers, but we would just cook pots and pots of food and just feed the children. It was just so lovely to see them seated down, waiting for the food. They would sing before they have the food, and we'd pray, and then they would just enjoy the meal. So I think there's something about, that feeding and eating together. It feels it's a lot of it's fellowship. It's fellowshipping together.
It is.
Yeah. So we just really enjoyed doing that, and we continued until when we closed the orphanage. Then after that is when I would still do some feeding programs now and then, but I then now branched over to concentrating on the widows whose husbands they lost through HIV and their families, and then also just concentrating on the disabled, because I realized I suppose we all know that now, that before, being disabled was more of, I don't know whether you call it a taboo or whether you want to call it a curse, or if you are Christians or whatever, maybe you wouldn't have looked at it that way, but you would be embarrassed, and you wouldn't let your child, if they're disabled, just be there. Like when guests are coming, they're also there to join the guests. They were always sort of like hidden away in their own room, and it still happens till today. Yes, I've got lots of children who, are kept away, literally locked up. So when people come, you don't see that disabled child. That happens till today.
Bad.
And I'm sure in most of the African countries especially, we still have that funny belief. So I started taking more interest in that, and now I'm quite involved with the disabled, from children, middle-aged, adults. We've done a lot. We've given many, many wheelchairs, many, maybe the range of 2,000 or so wheelchairs. Yeah, we've given lots of wheelchairs. And then I also started looking into the girls, because the girl child, a lot of them don't go to school when they have their periods, because obviously the embarrassment and the fact that they don't have any sanitary towels to use. So we started making sure that they're not staying at home. So we were providing the sanitary towels for them. So done a lot of that in the Machakos, especially Machakos County. Done a lot of giving out sanitary towels and just being there and mentoring them, and talking about the awareness and reminding them that they don't have to be embarrassed about the whole thing. So yeah, so I've been involved a lot in that, and of course a lot of whatever I do, I always believe we must at some point sit and eat together.
Yeah.
Even around here, they know me. I love, I still call, children for, Christmas or Easter. I still cook for them. Slaughter goats for the parents that come, the few parents. But for the children, I'll do a cow or 2 cows, depending on what sort of a group I have. And then make lots of pots of pilau and stews and whatever, and we'll sit and eat, and they'll come and swim. They'll go and play in the children's playground, and just allow them to be like other children. I think that's very important, not to make them feel out of place. So they don't have to feel that they cannot ride on a horse, they cannot ride on a camel, they cannot play on the on the bouncing castles. So I just let them be.
Wow.
And they love it, especially the swimming. They just love it. So, and after that, we'd always sit down and we would eat together. Eat proper until we all have full bellies. And it's just so lovely to see the children, feeling happy. They've almost done everything they'd have loved to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They've done it, and then on top of that, they've eaten, they're full. Some of them even carry some food with them home. Some of them will come and tell me, can I take some food from my mom? I tell them, okay, I'll pack for you. So I pack for them some. They take it home with them. So, Mama Sarah, feed me. It's all about feeding. And not just me feeding them, but it will also be them feeding others. That's what we want to move it to. So we're feeding each other. We're feeding, you've got an issue. We say, how can we feed you? Feeding doesn't necessarily mean just food, physically food, giving it to them. But even if we found people that have needs, I've got several of them who've have assisted. They either maybe wanted to do a small business, and they do, we help them set up the small business, and with that, they're able to help themselves and their families. And then with time, they are also willing to give something little to help somebody else. Then maybe we top it up. So if I take you a little bit to, going back when I'm in the UK, because of me doing my cooking, most of how I
You
support.
also do cooking. Wow, that's
I
amazing.
love cooking. I love feeding people.
Uh-huh.
That's where Mama Sarah Feed Me comes in.
Wow.
I love feeding people.
Uh-huh.
So apart from me cooking as I was growing up, I went, when I'm in the UK, that's one thing I've done so much. I've done festivals after festivals. So I've cooked a lot and fed thousands of people. And I've got people who still follow me till today to find out where is she, so I can eat her food.
Wow.
And the beauty of what I do once I have cooked and sold the food, that money is what I use to support my charity work. Because sometimes it's difficult just sort of like asking, people, support me for this, support. Just to a point of where you just feel, I felt God has given me this gift. I'm going to continue cooking, and I'm going to continue supporting what I enjoy best doing, and that is being there for others. So that's basically that Mama Feed Me is because I cook a lot, and in return, whatever money I make from the food is what I use for supporting the charity work. Whatever charity work I'm doing, that money goes back for that.
Right.
Yeah, so then I just sort of like in 2000, around 2005, it was very interesting because they approached me, the Liberal Democrats approached me and said, we want you to be a councillor. And I'm like, me, councillor? All I could think about is politics, like in Kenya. And, just what it involves. And I'm thinking, no, if I go into politics like that, then I would be diverted from what I enjoy doing best. And I didn't want that to happen. But they were convinced me because, I didn't really know much about the politics out there in the UK. But they told me, no. They explained to me what my work will be and, what they expect of me. So I said, okay. At that time, we were, I think, 2 or 3 blacks in the area where I lived. So I also wondered, how do I win this election with all these Muzungus?
Yeah.
Whoever's going to choose their fellow Muzungu anyway. That was interesting because I sort of like got my African cap on. I was out there, vote for Sarah Hillman, gave them all the jazz they wanted to hear. I remember those campaigns because my ex-father-in-law was a politician. So he did a lot of campaigns and whatnot for him. So I had the hang of what you need to do. So I took that to the UK, had my speaker on top of my car, and I was talking to the people, and they were, ooh! Before I realized it, day of the election came up, and I remember I won by an 80% win.
Wow.
80%. Until today, they have not beaten that percentage.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was very exciting.
How
The
did you
announcements were
feel?
being made. Good.
Wow.
Good. I don't like being a loser. No, I believe in winning. That's the side of me that you'll get to know more. Yeah, so it was wonderful. I won, and I did my job as a councillor. And in 2007, I was nominated to be given an award for Remember Africa. The award is called Remember Africa Award, and I won.
Again.
Yes.
Hey.
So they just considered all the work that I do back in Africa, and they felt I need to be given that award. One of these fine days show you my award when I go back to the UK.
Wow.
So that was really nice. And And yeah, then with my cooking, I've done programs like Come Dine With Me. Don't know if you've heard of Come Dine With Me, but those who watch TV who like cooking, watch Come Dine With Me. I did it, and I won. And I won £1,000 for my charity. So that was really nice as well. Then I had an opportunity of doing country cooking. I went in like a judge, sort of like just to make comments, you know. So that was good. Then from there, I've done other things. Like they came up with another program of Champions of Champions, Come Dine With Me. And I came second in the first sort of like round. So yeah, I mean, I enjoy cooking and I love feeding people and I love just that to eat together. For me,
It runs in the blood.
Yeah, I think it's the biggest buzz you can give me.
Wow.
That fellowshipping together where we can eat, have a drink together, laugh together, talk, share stories. Yeah, I just really enjoy that. So that's been me until like closer to today, where after stirring the pots for a long time, I told you I did a lot of festivals. So, I mean, I would feed thousands and thousands. But then as the clock ticks, you sort of like feel, for how much longer can I do this for? And I had to really pray about it. And I came up with this idea of having my recipe, but in a jar. So now, and this I'm very excited about.
Yeah.
I'm going to be having my curry paste. It's got no chili, and the chili paste if you want your food with chili, and also a chili sauce that you could just put on the table. But I want to introduce that, and then 30 to 50% of the profits to go back to my charity work. Then I can at least stop feeling that I've got to continue stirring the pots. Because age only allows you to do so much.
But you're still young.
Yes, very young.
Yes,
yes. Very young. Well,
That's very amazing.
I keep up. When I'm with the children and whatever is running around, I keep up. But then it's just that time goes by, you want to do more. You feel you want to do more.
I understand.
So even coming up with the Mama Sarah Feed Me, the products, was because I wanted to just sit in front of a camera, tell my stories, my childhood stories, and just generally growing up, what experience I've had. Because I've had amazing experience. Some really bad and some really good and some moderately okay. But in all that, those are the flavors of life that I want to talk about. So I'm going to have my stories. Then on the same time, I'll be doing a recipe to complement my story. So that's just going to be Mama Sarah Feed Me. And then get the products out there so people can be able to buy them. Then it still goes back, and you'll be able to follow us as to what we do. Whatever money comes in, we want to show you what we're going to be doing with whatever comes in. And most of all, and this sounds like it's out of this world, but we want to kick poverty out of Kenya. Wow. That sounds like, is she going a little? No, is she going a bit loopy?
Doable?
Yeah.
You're in Kenya.
Yeah, what is she thinking?
Yeah.
But you know what? Nothing is impossible.
Sure.
Nothing is impossible. And I really believe that one day we'll sit back, whether I'm going to be there or not, we will just sit back and say, you know what? She talked about this and she felt it can be done. Then you'll be talking in terms of it is done.
Yeah.
Past tense. Well,
it has happened.
It has happened. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
But that's my dream.
Wow.
So we can remove poverty completely. Because so many of us have got quite a bit. And I think if we just give back a little, that will make a very big difference.
Sure.
Let's start off with our country. We need to be there for one another. That's why Mama Sarah Feed Me. Feed me, I feed you. Let's feed each other. That's what it's all about. And as long as we're doing that, It just simply means that we will be there for each other. And with that, how can anything fail? I don't believe it will fail.
I just love the heart that you have.
Thank you.
Especially the heart for Kenya.
Yes.
You want to keep
I love my
poverty out
country.
of Kenya.
Yeah, I love my country.
Wow, who does
Even
that?
though you have your own little episodes sometimes, but I love my country. I love my people, and I want to see the what I can do back home. This is where I was born and bred, and this is actually where I belong. So even going out and doing things doesn't matter. I still have a very close touch with Kenya. So it's disappointing sometimes when you have bad experiences in Kenya and something that shouldn't be happening. So it's sad, but hey, those are the flavors of life, aren't they?
Yeah, sure. Let us talk about your second marriage a little bit. A mother of 4, getting a husband in Kenya, in Africa. You know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about because I get it all the time.
How you got yourself to the UK. Don't forget that.
Yeah. I mean, I moved to the UK. I had some things I had to sort out for my late sister. So I went there and, stayed there for a bit as I was doing a few bits. I used to go to the UK quite often. Even, several times I've been with my father. I remember, I've been going to the UK. So eventually when my parents both were not there, I went to the UK and I thought, might be an idea to settle out here. So I was there for a bit. Then I met my now husband and chose to settle in the UK because obviously he was from there. He was working. He had to obviously keep the job. Excuse me. And it happened. And just meeting, I had 4 kids. Come on. I had 4 children.
4.
It's not like they were, now becoming dependent. No, they were still babies. But he loved me.
That's true
with the
love.
4 children.
That's true love.
And he's never been married before me. No, he had never been married, and he had no children.
Is he younger than you?
Yes, you'd say he's my toy boy, but I do look younger than him, which is quite nice. But he's actually younger than me.
I love
something like 6 years.
Yeah.
But he loved me, and he adopted all my children.
Wow.
And you could see, there are men who might love you, but not love your children. That happens quite a bit. But he did not just love me, he loved my children. And that's why, even from my first experience, and I thought, will I ever get married again? But after meeting him and the way he was with the children, you're not able to see the black and white, you would never believe, because the kids started speaking like Muzungus, of course.
Yeah.
But if you hear them talking to each other, you seriously believe this was their biological father, because that's how close they were.
Wow.
Yeah, and because of that, I really respected him. I respect him till today. And then his parents, amazing. So sometimes, it's not just getting married. I think most of us, let's not get confused with just getting a man and getting married. It's a little advice for you ladies. There's many men out there, and you will find men, white men, yes, they're there. We want to maybe look after you, I don't know. But it's important to look for, people who are educated or whatever. It makes a difference. So being from, a bit of an upper class made that difference for me. I was able to be appreciated. You think as a black woman, 4 kids, who's going to love you? And that goes through even, through people today who've got 1 child. And they're thinking, who's going to love me with this 1 child? No. Stop thinking so low. You must think highly of yourself. And if you can believe in yourself, then 100% you'll get to any level you want to get. Yeah, just putting your trust in God and knowing that there's nothing impossible with God. Because at first I was like, this guy, once he knows I've got 4 children, I'm sure he'll do a quick runner. Those are sort of some of my thoughts. But actually, it wasn't like that. When he got up about the children, he eventually, appreciated that, and he was happy to, adopt all the kids, and they became very close. And the amount of time that they actually spent together with the children, you could see that there was that true love. So for me, it was such a blessing, because I remember praying in the house with the children, and they were tiny, and we used to laugh. We were all quite musical
In the
in the
UK.
family. Yes, and in the house they would be singing and saying, when we were praying, with them, the karaoke sort of like a system, and they're saying, "Oh God, please just give us a nice daddy, give mommy a nice husband,"
What?
and it came to pass.
Wow.
Yeah, those were their prayers. So even those little sweet angels, their prayers mean a lot.
So you got a kid with your current husband.
Thank you, God, for that. Because I kept praying for a child, and he was like, "We've got 4." In fact, he was just happy and satisfied. He didn't even want any more children. He was like, "We're done. You, me, 4 kids, we are okay." But I kept saying, "God, wait, just one. One
As
between
an
the two
African
of us.
woman.
Just one between the two of us."
Yeah.
And I thank God. When you pray and ask God to give you bread, He does not give you stone.
Sure.
So I prayed, and He gave me this beautiful girl.
Wow.
And we named her after my grandmother, Kambua.
Hey, Kambua. She looks like a Mzungu, but the name.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes. And then, of course, all the rest were much older. The last born of the 4 was 15 years when she was born. So they all were parents to her.
Wow.
So I didn't even have a house for bringing her up.
Love.
Yes. Now, unfortunately, they are not giving me grandchildren now. They've tasted being mothers and fathers, so they couldn't be bothered. They're just taking their time about everything. Yeah, but it's just such a blessing.
When the time is right, I know they will.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah. Now, Mama Sarah, how do you manage? You live in the UK and managing all the stuffs in Kenya, feeding people, but do you have someone maybe who takes control of all this while you are away?
Well, a lot of what I do is that I just trust people. And I know I've been let down several times. That's happened. But then just never give up, I would say. So I sort of like sometimes, you're let down. And sometimes people can see what your vision is and they want to carry the vision through with you. But I've had my bad times. I'm sure a lot of you people out there in the diaspora, you have a lot of stories. You know how you've sent money, this needs to be built, you're imagining your house is being built or this is being done, until you come back and you realize, nothing of that sort has been done. It's gone into somebody's pocket. That happens a lot. I'm sure I'll have many stories and comments from the diaspora because they've had that experience. When you're working hard, you go out there and you work hard, and every penny you have, you save it to give back. So you can be able to at least sort yourself back here, back home. And you trust people. But then, unfortunately, some of them maybe look at you and think, I don't know, they imagine we pick money from trees. I don't get it. But they use your money like it's okay. And maybe because of also the poverty sometimes in Kenya can be quite a lot. So I don't know. But yeah, it's having the trustworthy family or friends who can do things for you while, as you trust them. But then we all get those shocks where things have not been done. And what do you do now? You've saved this much money, you're hoping your house is maybe built or this has been done. You come and find it's not. What do? You cannot, can't kill this person. You can't do anything. So just left with pain and thinking of how much sweating you have done out there to actually make this happen, and then you've got nothing to write home about. It's a horrible feeling.
Sure.
So it's also for family and friends and people we trust here. I wish you could just hold us a little bit closer, because it's good for you to see the bigger picture rather than just seeing what you can quickly take, put in your pocket, and then take off. Imagine if you look at the bigger picture, because I'm sure for those of you who are assisting some of us who are out of the country, believe me, we could do much more together if we continued it together without looking at it from the point of view, what can you achieve on your own? Yeah, together we can.
Yeah. And you've mentioned about politics in the UK, being a counselor and all that. Maybe do you have plans of joining politics here in Kenya in future?
That makes me breathe heavily. Definitely not. I'm not interested in politics. Even back in the UK, if they called me to go back and do anything, I'll just say, I'm sorry, I'm not interested. It's very, very energy consuming, which I don't have. And then all this, politicians even here, I see the way they're like, I'm here, we're together, do this. And a lot of it is just, it's not real. And I want to be real. I want to be who I am. I want you to know what you see is what you get. I don't have any hidden agendas. And it's difficult as a politician here because half the time you just have to put a smile, even if you don't want to put the smile. You have to always feel, you're giving it your best, and even if you don't have that energy, you're still giving it. If you don't have the money, you're still giving it. If you don't have this, it's very, very nerve-wracking. I sometimes wonder how these politicians actually manage. I would go cuckoos, seriously speaking. I couldn't cope with that. So I can't be a politician out here because that's not me. I'm not a politician. I'm a people person, but not where I have to do things that is not me. Yeah,
Correct.
So,
do you have plans of settling in Kenya in future, maybe with your family, your mzungu husband?
I'd love to be here and be there. And it's because I think a lot of times when I'm here, there's some joy and laughter and the beautiful weather that I love. There's also things that frustrate me. But then likewise, when I'm on the other end, there's a bit of order, but there's still things that frustrate me. The weather out there is awful. Especially when it's cold, it's horribly cold. As much as, I don't know whether you prefer cold to hot. But for me, at least if it's hot here, I can have an umbrella, I can have a hat, I can be under the trees, But when it's cold over there, you're going out, you'd hardly see me going out. Because you still have to dress to infinity. It's just too much. And then the weather, as well as you continue, because I've been brought up here, I think the weather doesn't, do that much for me.
Yeah.
When it's cold, it just doesn't do much for me. So, and thankfully, I think my husband understands that and sees that. So he would like to come and settle out here for a bit as well. So we'll make it a half-half.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Now, as we wrap up, Mama Sarah, I just want you to look at that camera and tell us the future of Mama Sarah. Feed me.
Oh, right. Mama Sarah, feed me. We want to make sure that we make a difference. It's not about, just talking about it. We want to talk and action it. And as I said to you earlier, we want to kick poverty out of Kenya. This sounds like it's impossible. It's not. As long as we join hands together, believe me, we can do it. And generally Kenyans were very giving people. Yeah? But I know sometimes you get a little bit nervous as to where are you giving this money to? How will this money actually be able to help a particular person or whatever it is that needs to be, assisted with. But I want to assure you what we want to do is make sure we're going to be very transparent, by the way, so that you see what we're doing and then you can be part of us. And then, because before it's been more of me on my own, but now I've got an amazing team and I know that we're going to make a difference. And very soon, our talk will be another talk. We're not going to be looking at people going hungry, people starving, people, living a difficult, life, when others are living such an amazing life. Let's just try and get that balance right. And I believe together we can do this. Okay? So trust me on that, and just have the faith as well that it can be done. So we're going to really put effort into it. And as I said, we're going to be very transparent. Anything we do, you will know what we're doing. You'll be welcome to come over on board and see everything. It'll all be there in black and white. So I hope, Kenyans, let's just get our hands together and do more for ourselves. It's literally from us to us. Yeah? Let's do this together.
Wow, that's an amazing parting shot indeed. Thank you so much, Mama Sarah, for your
Thank
time.
you. Thank you very much for having me.
Wow. Thank you. And to our audience, until next time, this is Jalango TV, your number one online TV. My good name is Eddie Max, and behind the camera is my good director, Daya.